It's my honor to introduce our next speaker. Mohammed Al Khadra is a founder of the Council of Ex-Muslims of Jordan, a group focused on raising awareness of atheism in Jordan, as well as helping Jordanian atheists. He is an outspoken advocate of freedom of speech, secularism, and human rights. Following a speech about Islam at the Freedom of Expression Conference in London in July of 2017, Khadra faced potential arrests by the Jordanian government, and his life as an open atheist became untenable, prompting him to move to the United States. With assistance from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, as well as British and American nonprofit organizations, Khadra established a new home in the United States this year. Khadra continues his activism by speaking publicly and working to support non-believers in Jordan and throughout the Islamic world. Please welcome Mohammed Al Khadra.
Hi. Thank you for the kind introduction. Please keep in mind that my speaking skills are self-taught, so bear the mistakes that are about to happen. Anyway, when the hero of mine, Maryam Namazi, reached out to anybody who can help in a situation where I, a long-time atheist in Jordan, needed to leave the country, Anulori and FFRF were one of the first to respond, accept an offer, anything they can do to help. And for that, it is the least to thank Miriam, Anulari, and Freedom from Religion Foundation for being an essential part that I can now say in a crowded room that I do not believe. I've been here for a few months now, but I'm still not used to saying that in a crowded place. People here can say what they want, they can eat, drink what they want, they can even tell their own president to go to a non-existing hell, and it's all okay. The most precious moment I had was on the first day of Ramadan. I was walking close to the Texas state capitol, and I had a bottle of water with me. I opened it and I drank a little, and then it hit me. It was fine. There was no angry mob, no police sirens, no handcuffs. I wasn't going to jail. There's no fine, nothing. For the first time in my life, water was nothing but freedom. This feeling of freedom came as a series of unexpected events, because I had quite a lot of misconceptions upon coming here. Some of them brought delight, while others shocked me. For example, in 2018, in the only country that supposedly cannot favor one religion over the others, the president and members of government, while honoring a Vietnam veteran by receiving a Medal of Honor, all bowed their heads in a Christian prayer. It appeared to me that Christianity is somehow special. It's like a special part of a secular institution. Religion mutates. It does that when it doesn't have the influence it had. It's just the innocent prayers. It's the smiling preacher, the tolerant and compassionate churches. It wasn't in its intent to become like this. It lost the control it once had, while in other parts of the planet, it doesn't need the friendly mask. The ugly face of religion, when it's calling in the shots, is active somewhere else. In those other parts, religion comes in an unapologetic way. You're not asked to respect it. You have to. You don't need to be careful of what you say in a discussion in order to care for others. You try to watch out and care for yourself. I would like to think that I was choosing not to hurt feelings, but I was actually choosing not to hurt myself. That's how and why we censor our ideas. How about you? Is there a moment where you censor yourself too? Is it about a specific religion? Our why is for our own next sake. Well, what's your why? When we speak of how religion has control of all aspects of life in the Middle East, we describe censorship, blasphemy laws, lack of liberty and freedom of thought. It's usually considered as if it has always been the case, as if Islam has had this power all along. That's not quite correct. When we look back into the 60s, you'd find, for example, publications that no one would dare write now. And even if they do, publishers would not dare to publish them in those countries. And even people used to dress, act, and think differently. Leaders would openly criticize the idea of having religion introduced back into politics. There was even a relative respect for women, a period of secular societies and daring conversations on subjects that now can get you killed there. Or to put it in Western terms, subjects that are Islamophobic. I wondered for long on why that happened. Why is it that in other societies, religion did not get to have such a comeback, while in the Middle Eastern version of it, secularism was crushed 20 years later on to almost non-existence? There was a key difference between the two. The Western version and the Middle Eastern one. The earlier one did not push theocrats away at gunpoint, nor did it replace man-made gods with man-made political ones. But the change in the Middle East kept the people under the control of authoritarian regimes. The subjugation of the individual and the censorship of his thoughts were still an existing phenomena. And religion waited underneath the lie of a free society until it was time for it to come back to the surface. It can be argued that the secular authoritarian regimes are the reason for their own downfall. The authoritarian aspect of them denied any real freedom of expression and had entire nations as subjects to a selected few. This kept the ground fertile for any other totalitarian idea to control the masses, whether for the sake of a great leader or a great God. The shift of power between those forces did not happen instantly. It took the religious about 20 years to create a generation ready to accept that re-emerging theocrats will become major players on the map. After and during that period, while trying to maintain their power, some allied themselves with the forces of religion, creating a mix of two evils, the results of which can be observed not only in Yemen, Syria, Egypt, and Iran, but can now be seen in Boston, New York, and London, to name a few. The deals between the Saudi leadership and the Wahhabi clergy, or the Qatari royal family with the Muslim Brotherhood, are examples of partnership between the two. And with the majority of people still are in servitude, if not to both, then by one or the other, the resulting outcomes of ignorance, poverty, and hate will be, as observed, inevitable. I wonder, since that change did not happen suddenly, can we point out the exact levels preceding all of this, the reasons, and how they could have been prevented? The question of when does religion go too far is important in the process of not having a flourishing suicide bombing industry again. If I would walk out of here and I would directly meet the next Muslim on the street, and I have great degree of confidence that he or she will be against blowing themselves up. But at what level of religious indoctrination is he at? Does he follow the Quran strictly? Is his morals based only on the Islamic scripture? And if yes, what does he exclude from them, if he does? Does he or she strictly follow the war verses too? After all, if I would tell you that I'm a devout reader of Mein Kampf, you would be interested in knowing that do I follow it strictly, Or does it just give me a sense of community? And don't get me wrong here. I am, after all, focused on what concerns me personally and for my own safety. But this applies to all religions. And you should be wondering when interacting with a religious person or a devout reader of Mein Kampf about how far did the poison reach. Christian, Jews, and Muslims can all be decent. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam simply cannot. It is the Western values, and most importantly that of free speech, that kept the power-hungry religious and politicians in check. Your ability that did not come to you with no human lost is why you, and now me, can say in a crowded room that we do not believe. I had some thoughts before disregarding the risk one has to take, but why have an uncomfortable conversation altogether? And who am I to ask and interfere in deeply held beliefs? Maybe it's hate speech to try to have this kind of dialogue. Maybe it shouldn't be a concern of mine. Well, what about pinpointing the level of religiosity a society as a whole is at? Some polls say 82% of Jordan believe in my own death penalty. So after all, maybe I should be concerned. Maybe I should be having that dialogue. Maybe, just maybe, I should not give a damn about feelings. When depowering religion is depowering a major source of pain and suffering that is inflicted not just on those who leave it altogether, but those who are still captives of it. The Yemenis, Iraqis, and Iranians who died and continue to die to this day are victims of the same poison that kills ex-Muslims, mutilate children, convince its followers that vaccines or condoms are bad. There is something that I will not put up with. Being an atheist or having a secular state with freedom of speech is not a monopoly for the West. And if you think that there is no such try to make it that way, ask yourself this. Why is a critic of Christianity called secular, while a critic of Islam is called an Islamophobe? It's not reasonable. It is now reasonable to sanction a woman under hate speech for stating that Muhammad had pedophilic tendencies, as the European Court of Human Rights ruled recently. It is sad to see that the difference between East and West that was necessary for its values to live to this day is now slowly vanishing. And it is funny to me how me and my friends used to dream about having a life where there is no thought policing, and to watch you, who have it, simply give it up. The discovery of the lie of religion is not an easy one, especially when religion overwhelms your life. I look at you and I see faces of inquiring minds who are brave enough to be the lonely heretics. As Christopher Hitchens said, it does not matter what you think, but how you think. Open dialogue will always filter out bad ideas. And as we try to have it open in the East, I count on people like you, the heretics, to never allow it to be closed. Thank you.